what's up guys? This is Halfway, broadcasting from around the world in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. And guys, today we're going to be talking about, we're talking about fast food. Let's see what it segues into, I don't know. I was at Burger King today for lunch. One of my former co-workers met up with me and one other person, and we went out to lunch. And this week is my birthday. On the 16th is my birthday. So she took me out and bought me like a birthday lunch, I guess. As I've mentioned before, holidays and birthdays don't really, I'm not like a big fan of them. Like it's cool, it's my birthday, whatever, but I don't actually care that much. However, I do have a PayPal, so if anybody wanted to send me a little birthday love, as much as I don't really care about birthdays, birthday presents are cool. If anybody wanted to throw me a couple bucks for my birthday, I would not turn that down. So we were at Burger King and having lunch, and something we were kind of touching on, which is something that I've noticed a lot of times. I don't know if I've mentioned on these videos, but fast food here is very different than, let's say, fast food in the US. Now, we were at a Burger King, and arguably the food and the quality is exactly the same. I would say if somebody gave me a burger, I got I had a double cheeseburger, a double bacon cheeseburger. Is that a thing at Burger King in the US? I feel like that's like a McDonald's thing. Burger King probably has the same option. But anyways, we're at Burger King. If I had the same burger from the US, if I had a Whopper from the US and a Whopper from Burger King Cambodia, I'm 100% sure I would not be able to tell the difference between them. They're basically exactly the same. But what is different is the atmosphere and the clientele, the customers who go there. So a lot of times in the US, you get people who are going to fast food who are either, on their way to work or on their way home from work, just trying to get literally fast food, trying to get a fast meal. Or a lot of times it's people who are trying not to spend too much money on food, because fast food relatively to, going out to eat or even cooking at home, a lot of times fast food's gonna be even cheaper than cooking at home or whatever. Now here it's exactly the opposite. So for example, a meal, if you get a burger and fries and drink, depending on what you get, might be $5, $6, $6.50, something like that. $5, between $5 and $6.50 for a meal. Now, here you can get a meal for $2 or $3 if you just get regular commodity. So the fast food is so much more expensive, 100, 200%, maybe 300%. Even for me, normally when I go and get lunch, I spend $1 on my lunch, which is rice, pork, boiled egg, hard-boiled egg, cucumbers, and tomatoes. Like a whole meal for $1. Or you can go to Burger King and spend $6 for, processed bullshit food. And it's different because what you'll see when you go to whether it's Burger King or Carl's Jr., yeah, we have all those things. We have Burger King, Carl's Jr., Cold Stone, Dairy Queen, all those things are here. But when you go to these places, it's weird because you go there and you'll see in the parking lots like Mercedes or Porsches and people who have a lot of money. And it's just kind of the opposite in the US. Now, obviously in the US, I think, depending on how healthy you live, but generally speaking, everybody goes to fast food sometimes, whether you're rich, poor, middle class, whatever. But I think you have more of a lower class, consistency in the US going to fast food, while here it's more of a middle class or upper class consistency that is going for fast food. And then, even talking about that, we were talking about people who can afford fast food here, that level of food. And again, I spoke about this in another video where I was talking about the wealthier. There are still absolutely a lot of poor people in Cambodia, but it's growing. The economy is growing. The middle class is growing. Even the elite or upper class is growing. And unemployment here is actually super low. It's one of the lowest employment countries I think in the world. I don't know what number it is. I looked it up. I think it was 0.2%. This was as of 2015 or 16. It was 2.2% of the country was unemployed. But that doesn't mean a lot, because even though you're employed, it could mean you're working in some obscure labor industry where you're getting paid, dollars a day or something. So just because there's a very low level of unemployment doesn't necessarily mean that that's the reason specifically why the middle class is growing. But Cambodia is just developing in a lot of ways. I was also reading an article today from, it's called like Business to Business Cambodia, and they and China just had some meetings where China is going to be helping out Cambodia a lot and setting up the logistics to really strategize their e-commerce here. And hopefully they'll be getting things like Alibaba. If you guys are not aware, if you're from the West, we have Amazon. So there's a company in China, it's called Alibaba, and they're like the Amazon of the East, basically. They're very similar to Amazon, but they're a Chinese-based company. And having that come to Cambodia would be huge. So they're discussing how to get like online payments going for all that kind of stuff, and credit cards and debit cards, and it's just one example of how quickly they're modernizing and working with other countries to really get to the same level as a lot of their neighbors and other countries in the region. And again, that's creating jobs, that's creating more revenue for people. And then I was also reading another article that was even talking about like farmers in Cambodia now. Wow, for so long, especially since the 70s up until very, very recently, a lot of farmers were just making enough money just to basically like live. That's it, like pay for their basic upkeep of their land, etc., etc. And now it's saying like farmers are starting to see like they're actually turning profits, and they're not like getting crazy rich. But compared to the past, where they had enough money to reinvest in their land and feed either their livestock or nutrients for their agriculture or whatever they're growing, now they're actually starting to make money off of it. They're starting to make a profit. And again, these are just some examples of where Cambodia came from, or not where Cambodia came from, but in the recent past of what happened with the Khmer Rouge, blah, 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 coming out to where it is now, blah, blah, blah. So it's developing very quickly. The middle class is growing. People are making more money. And again, like watching these videos, like be careful. So right now it's the end of 2017. It's November of 2017. When you're watching these videos, go back and make sure things haven't been updated since the last time that, since newer videos either that I make or whoever else you're watching or reading or whatever, because things here are changing very, very quickly. And I remember, even when I first got here, so I've been here for 15 or 16 months, I remember thinking like, hey, maybe in the next 10 years, like Cambodia is going to be at like the level of where Thailand or something like that is now. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was much faster than that. I think that Cambodia is actually very ambitious, and I foresee them in less than a decade, being like, compared to where they are now, let's say in like 8 years compared to where Cambodia is now, I see it just being like a whole nother world, a whole nother level. And I imagine over the next, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, more and more things are just going to be happening here. So guys, make sure you're thinking about the future when you come here, how things might develop and change compared to, what it is now and what you want out of life and what you expect and everything like that. All right, guys, this is Halfway broadcasting from the world. I don't think I have much else, but all right, guys, peace out, be easy.